Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Library Picker. Have you ever seen TV shows like halfway through the season they do like a flashback episode where they stitch together segments of old episodes? I've always thought it's kind of a lame way to not create something new, but we're going to do it this week on Library Picker anyway. And the reason we're going to do it is because we've done a lot of Library Picker episodes and we've featured a lot of books. So I just want to remind you of some of the great books that we've featured because they're still around too. So here's the shelf. We replaced our Fame shelf with a Library Picker themed shelf. And picking is to find interesting or useful things. So everything on this shelf is a book that we've featured on a previous episode of Library Picker. Let's see if we can find a few great ones. And what we'll do is we'll do a little flashback to some previous episodes. So here's one, The Selected Works of T.S. Spivet. Let's see if we can find that episode. Here it is. We'll watch a little bit of it. So he travels across the country to accept this award. And the book is his thoughts and his experiences, and almost every page has one of his incredible drawings as he travels by train as a hobo. Yes, I said hobo. So I guess hobo was my word of the week that week. So this is going to be a little weird because there's like a me right here, and then like a mini me up here to my right. But we're going to keep going anyway. Let's find that Library Picker shelf again. There it is. Another great book on this shelf that we featured, I think it might have been in October or November, The Grimm Legacy. Let's find that episode. Here it is. So originally on our sci-fi and fantasy shelf, it's on that Library Picker shelf now. Great book. Here's another couple that we featured, and I'm going to look at the one on the left, Toads and Diamonds. Let's find that episode. I think on this one I just read a little bit of a summary of the book. This one is a tale set in pre-colonial India that's about two stepsisters who encounter a goddess, and they end up each having some kind of special talent. One spews gems and flowers every time she speaks, and the other produces toads and snakes every time she speaks. And so that sounds a little bit weird, but I know there have been a couple people who have read this, teachers too, and they've said it's a really fun, easy, quick read. Let's head back to that Library Picker shelf. There's a few more we want to look at, I think. Here's another one we featured a while ago, Three Rivers Rising, a novel in free verse set during the Johnstown flood, and here's the picker from that particular episode.
At 4:07 p.m. on May 31st, 1889, a wall of water over 40 feet high roared down the mountain, destroying everything in its path. 20 million gallons of water moving at 40 miles an hour obliterated 4 square miles of downtown Johnstown, swept away 1,600 homes, and carried 85-ton locomotives for almost a mile. Bodies were later found as far away as Cincinnati, Ohio.
So a little piece of weather history there for you. Look for a few more. Up on this top shelf, here's a few we featured, but you know what? What's one of those flashback episodes without adding some new content? I feel like we can't go through this without giving you a few new books. So here's a great one. It's called The Last Thing I Remember, and we have a trailer for this one somewhere. Here it is.
I don't know what happened. I was just an ordinary kid, a good student, a black belt in karate. I'd just gotten the number of the prettiest girl in school. I had plans to join the Air Force after graduation. My name is Charlie West, and that's the last thing I remember.
So apparently that book is all action, and it's part of a series. So this book, which was originally on our grab-and-go shelf, is now on our Library Picker shelf. So there's a first new one. We're going to go to do two more new ones in this episode, and we'll spin around here and head over to our sci-fi and fantasy section. And we're going to look at a brand new book, just came out this week, got a lot of great reviews, and it's called The Floating Islands. So this is a fantasy. There's magic involved, there's some action involved, but it's about a boy named Trey who loses his family in some kind of disaster and has to move to a faraway land across the world to move in with some very distant relatives that he doesn't even know. And they live in this land of floating islands that are held aloft by some kind of wind. And this is about friends he meets there, adventures he has there with his friends, but it's also about these friends kind of breaking some of the rules of this society. So this is a great choice if you enjoy good, inventive fantasy lands. So that's our second new one. Let's do one more new one. We're going to fast forward. We're going to head over to our action and suspense area. And on this side, another brand new book that I'm kind of excited about on the bottom shelf. It's called Time Riders. I don't know whether you can read this, but in the subtitle it says, mess around with time and the world you know could become a world you don't. Here's part of the trailer. Where is it? Here it is. Wow, that's a little scary. And so is the idea of a Nazi-controlled New York City. So this looks pretty cool about time travel and the dangers of time travel. So that's going to be it for this week's episode of Library Picker. Remember, we've got that shelf with all these great books that we've featured this year, so come in and check it out sometime.